Super counters are the best form of defense that basically work on everything in the game. There are two common exceptions that you can't super counter. The first one is the lightning attack, which you can do as a follow-up to a smash attack by clicking your guard button. For me it's circle because I'm on classic, but the rest of this tutorial works as standard too. The second is super perception, where you're locked into that animation and you can't do anything apart from revenge counter. To do the general super counter, you click up and square at the right time. Because I'm playing on classic, I can use the D-pad to do this, which is slightly more precise, but it works on the analog stick too. You also don't have to click both at the same time. If I just hold up here and time the square correctly, it will also work. If you just mash these inputs together, most of the time it won't work, and it's because there's a cooldown. Some people have tested that there's a 12 frame cooldown between each super counter, and here's what that means. On any platform, so Xbox, PS5 and PC, you're playing the game at 60 frames per second. If there's a 12 frame cooldown, that means you have to wait 0.2 seconds for your super counter to reset, and then you can go for it again. I know that number sounds tiny, but as I said, if you just mash and don't wait, then it won't reset and your super counters won't activate. So with that idea covered, the first step to learning the super counter is to practice it on smash attacks. The timing for the super counter input is clicking it pretty much right before your enemy hits you, but the best way to learn this is getting an idea for it yourself. Pick any two characters in training mode and set it to smash attacks and follow-ups 1. The CPU will use a smash attack on you, and if you look at my controller, I click it right before the hit connects. After that they'll vanish with Z counters, but don't worry about that. For now, practice getting one super counter off consistently on this mode. Once you've become comfortable with that, you can move on to super countering the vanish. The timing for the super counter input is the same as before, but because the vanish happens so quickly, it'll feel like you have to click it even faster. Practice this until you get it down consistently. Most of the time the CPU will get smashed away, so to save time, you can do a lightning attack by clicking your guard button to track them. Sometimes if you're lucky, the CPU will vanish again, and then you can try to do 3 super counters in a row. Here's a really important thing to understand. You saw that you can super counter in vanish chains, and to start vanish chains, you can do a smash attack into a vanishing attack, or you can super counter a smash attack. If you wanted to, you could do infinite super counters in a vanish chain as it doesn't cost any ki, but there's a small rule to this. If your opponent does a vanishing attack, you can super counter all you want, but if you decide to do a regular vanish or a Z counter, you can no longer do any super counters in that chain. The game pretty much forces you to lock into one option. You either do only super counters or you only do Z counters. You can't mix them up. Once you've gotten decent at super countering smash attacks, we can move on to super countering regular attacks. Another important thing to know is that different characters' attacks will have different input timings for super counters. This is because each character can have unique rush attack animations and different melee attack speeds. To practice against this, you need to pick 4 types of characters with different speeds. For very fast, you can pick Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta or Bursa. Fast, you can pick base Goku Super or maybe Perfect Cell. Medium, I picked Turles, and for slow, I picked Legendary Super Saiyan Z Broly. Set the training mode to rush attacks and try messing around the super counters by using the timing you learned about before. Some characters in the game have attacks that you can't super counter because they're multi-hitting. Here you can see Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, and if I click square once, he actually throws out 2 punches instead of 1. The same happens if I click square 4 times. It'll be 8 hits with an additional hit at the end. You can super counter the first punch, but you can't super counter the second punch. So once the first one connects, you shouldn't input it for the second one. And you can see that here. I can perfectly super counter the first hit, but if I try for the second, it doesn't work. This applies to every character that has multiple hits like this. You can find out by pretty much picking any fast character in the game. So now I'm going to show you clips of me super countering different types of characters. Each character's rush attack in a combo will have different animations, so pay attention to that. I'm going to play them first at full speed and then slow-mo so you can see the input timing. Look carefully at my controller. And guys, if you're struggling to super counter the slow characters, don't worry, it's completely normal. The slow characters are actually harder to super counter than the fast characters because their rhythm is completely different. And most of the time online, people are using fast characters, so you're used to that rhythm. I was struggling to super counter Broly myself, and that's one of the things that makes him so good. A defensive trick is that you can actually super counter while holding your guard button. For me, I have to use some claw grip, but it's pretty easy to do in standard because you hold R1 instead of circle. If you can't get a perception or sonic sway off, then it might be a good idea to go for this if they keep spamming attacks. And finally, if you want to learn how to get good at those long super counter chains, then unfortunately there's no real practice mode for this. Most of the time the CPU will just lose after 2 of them, so my best advice would be to invite a friend and only go for super counters, or try to use them as much as possible in online casual matches. For example, if they keep doing vanish chains, you can just try to go for super counters instead of vanishing them, and if you keep practicing it, you'll get better in no time. If you found the video useful, then please leave a like and subscribe. I heard if you click both of the buttons then your super counter will actually become better.